Back to Congressman Joaquin Castro, who's joining us. Congressman, we learned also today that Customs and Border Protection officials will soon begin collecting proposals to design and build what they're calling a prototype wall structure or structures near the southern border with Mexico. And President Trump said at CPAC today that the border wall is way ahead of schedule. You represent a district in a border state in Texas. What's your reaction to that news?
Well, I've said for quite a while, as many others have also, that spending tens of billions of dollars on a border wall is a bad idea. There's so many other ways that we could spend that money, and I also think that that wall is going to be ineffective.
Yesterday, the president described recent deportations as a military operation. That's the way he phrased it. The White House later clarified that he was using that phrase as an adjective to describe the precision of those deportations. You've expressed concerns that the administration is planning mass deportations. Are you concerned that the president might try to use some sort of military force to enact his policy?
Sure. At this point, after what we've seen, I wouldn't rule anything out. You think about what happened just the other day where CBP agents were checking the documents, the papers of everybody who was deplaning from a domestic flight from San Francisco to New York. ICE agents have gone over to a domestic violence court and removed a woman from the court who was seeking a protective order. There was a woman who had a brain tumor who was a few days away from having surgery to have that removed or dealt with, and she's been in a detention center, from what I understand. We've heard other stories of American citizens and legal residents getting caught up in this dragnet. So to be honest with you, at this point, I really wouldn't put anything past it.
Well, let me give our viewers some background on what you're talking about. That one story, that developing story, we're tracking it as well. Passengers on a domestic flight from San Francisco to New York were told to present identifying documents to agents from Customs and Border Protection when they touched down. The agency says they were searching for an undocumented individual who had been ordered removed by an immigration judge. This is highly unusual because those agents are typically limited to checking international arrivals. Do you believe this amounted to an illegal checkpoint of passengers on that domestic flight?
Quite possibly, Wolf. And at that meeting with ICE several days ago, I asked a direct question, whether there would be any random citizenship or document checks. And their answer was a clear no. That seems to violate basically what they promised to us as members of Congress in that room and what they've said to the American people. So are they saying that any time they're looking for an undocumented person, that 300 people or 400 people are going to be subjected to being asked for their citizenship documents? If so, then there are going to be millions of Americans from every walk of life and background who are going to be caught up in this large dragnet.
Congressman, the Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly and the Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, they were in Mexico yesterday. They tried to reassure the Mexican government that President Trump's deportation policies will be carried out legally and humanely. But many Mexican officials did not seem convinced. What do you make of the rocky start to this U.S. relationship with Mexico?
Well, remember, Mexico is one of our three largest trading partners. They've been a nation with whom we've been great friends over the years. And so the president has shown a real hostility towards Mexico. And I said early on, look, if they insist, if Donald Trump insists on making Mexico pay for a wall, if he does that by taking away foreign aid, for example, then I'm sure that China, Xi Jinping, is more than happy to step in and offer them whatever Donald Trump takes away. So to me, in terms of the geopolitics, it's creating a wide open door for a competitor nation in China to go in there and really get a foothold in Mexico and Latin America.
I noticed when the president... Yeah, I was just going to say, I noticed when the president spoke at CPAC today, he promised to build that wall, but he avoided saying Mexico was going to pay for it. Go ahead.
And then also, Wolf, you know, I know that Rex Tillerson, who is a distinguished man, who's had a distinguished career, went down there and came off in a friendly tone and seemed to give some reassurances. But the fact is, at this point, you know, our allies don't know whose word to trust. The White House, depending on who you ask gives, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 different versions of an answer on controversial issues. So unfortunately, it's gotten to the point where our diplomats can go to a country and offer assurances, and really, those countries don't know whether their word can be taken or not.
Congressman Castro,